Well, we're breaking out our old handy-dandy Phil Steele again today, Diesel, on the Fan Upstate. I don't know what we would do without Phil Steele, but he does a tremendous job on his publication each year. We're breaking out in this very first segment, and I ask the question, will the tough road impact the outcome? What am I talking about? Phil Steele, 2025, has ranked his toughest schedules 1 through all the way to 136, Diesel. So we now know who plays the toughest schedules. We now know who has the most excuses in their arsenal, and we now know who has the least amount of excuses in their arsenal. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Hump Day edition of Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. Do you blindly, without looking, Diesel, have any idea who the number one toughest schedule in the country is, according to Phil Steele?
I think it's probably Florida again.
It is not Florida.
Not Florida. It's an
no,
SEC
you'll
team?
never guess this. This is crazy. That's why it caught my attention this morning. And by the way, Tolos, want to hear from you at 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. The Badgers.
Really?
Of Wisconsin. According to Phil Steele, if you're watching the show, you can see it right here on the Phil Steele magazine, right? For those of you watching, by the way, you can watch on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you've never watched the show, check it out. You can see Diesel and I's beautiful face on camera. I don't know if that's ever been said before, but here we are on this hump day looking at the toughest schedule. JBDBT Swizzle already in the stream, in the comments section. Wisconsin. Why does Wisconsin have the number one toughest schedule according to Phil Steele? Diesel, let's take a dive into it.
Yeah, I just pulled it up, and I see why they're ranked number one. But hey, good news is we don't have to hear any SEC guys complaining, crying, whining about their schedule this year, because now, guess what? The Big Ten's got you beat in that too.
Are there any Wisconsin fans in the Upstate? I don't know. Have we ever heard from a Wisconsin fan?
Can't say as we have.
From Wisconsin? How do they say
Wisconsin.
it? Well, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I don't know that we've heard from a Wisconsin football fan in the audience right here on the Fan Upstate. But Wisconsin, according to Phil Steele, has the 2025 toughest schedule in all of the land. You guessed Florida. I believe they did a season ago, right?
They were the toughest schedule last year.
This year, they're number 12.
Really?
12 toughest in 2025.
So good to see they get a break.
They get a big break. They're not playing near the competition that they did last year, Diesel. Wisconsin. Here's the question, Tolos. Do you agree that Wisconsin has the toughest football schedule? Diesel just looked at it and he said, yep.
People out of hand would say, no, there's no way. They play in the Big Ten. They don't play tough schedules up there.
I would too, right? Off cuff. Like, why would Wisconsin in that conference have a tough schedule?
How many of the top 5 are SEC teams? I'm going to guess and say the top 5 has 3.
You would be correct. On the stream on YouTube, T Swizzle says, what's Clemson's? Just curious. Diesel, do you want to guess where Clemson is? According to Phil Steele.
I know I've seen this. Isn't Clemson somewhere around 30?
God. Segment over. Diesel's too good at this. Get 29. 29.
It's close.
Baylor's 30, by the way.
But by Price is Right rules, I lose because you have to be under.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Clemson 29th. I mean, how do you make? I mean, what do you make of that?
I mean, to me, that's respectable. Anything inside the top 50 is respectable. There are still tiers within that top 50. Certainly,
Marcus,
the 49th toughest schedule is not the same as the 4th toughest schedule. So being right there, that's a respectable type of schedule. You'd certainly want it to be better. It helps that Clemson's out of conference, features 2 top 25 preseason rated teams. We'll see. God, it's brutal for the ACC that they cannot get another good team or 2.
I just wonder, Diesel, if LSU weren't the opener, what would Clemson be instead of 29?
You take away LSU's preseason 8 or 9?
Mm-hmm.
You take LSU away, you replace them with even an unranked Power 5. Let's just say that it was Mississippi State. I'd say Clemson probably falls from 29 to about 40.
Probably right. Dewey, by the way, on YouTube says Gamecocks have the toughest. Not quite.
No, they don't.
JB says Florida plays the exact same teams in last season other than Long Island and South Florida. That's an interesting point. Let's go to the phone lines, 844-326-3663. Marcus wants to chime in on Wisconsin being one. What do you say, Marcus?
The perfect storm. This is the storm I'm watching all fucking.
Okay. Have to
hit
block
that button.
number. You know, it's bad when you don't recognize a number, Diesel, and then you just see it and you instantly take a picture of it because you just have an idea that it could be one of these bad calls that we'll have to block. So congratulations, caller. You've just been blocked from calling. So well done. Job, but well done. Idiots out there. Can I say that? Is that wrong of me to say? You call into the radio station and you say stupid things. You're an idiot. All right, on to the next topic. Diesel, Wisconsin's number one. We know that.
Yep.
Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, have the second toughest schedule, according to Phil Steele. And I've got Mississippi State's schedule. Oh, by the way, I apologize. Let me tell the Tolos out there why Wisconsin's number one. Before I move on, we didn't even do that.
Yeah, they just had to take your word for it.
They had to take my word for it. So they open with Miami of Ohio, Middle Tennessee. That's why. I'm kidding. They go to Bama. They host Maryland. They're at Michigan. They have Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois, and Minnesota. So that is, according to Phil Steele, the number one team. The number one toughest schedule. Before we move to number two, Diesel,
I'm looking to learn something here about Miami of Ohio. The Red Hawks, by the way, 9-win team last year. They're going to be awful offensively this year, though. They bring back one offensive starter.
A little bit of breaking news from Pete Yanity, our friend who we just had on last week. Diesel, this is on Twitter at PY or at P Yanity on X. Breaking news, Southern Conference announces that Tennessee Tech will join the conference in July of 2026.
Interesting choice.
Tennessee
Tech.
Okay. Didn't see that coming. Tennessee Tech joining the Southern Conference. How about that breaking news on this this Wednesday from Pete Yanity?
That's big because the Southern Conference, it's funny. I just wrote a sports spin that'll air tomorrow about the Southern Conference and about how its strategy of chasing small private schools has really bit them in the rear end after Georgia Southern and App State left the conference. And they haven't had any of the few remaining large public schools be able to step up and be the bulwark for that conference. You know, the Chattanooga, East Tennessee State, Western Carolina, the only FCS team that's ranked in the preseason rankings this year.
Yeah.
Tennessee Tech has an enrollment of 10,111 students. That's fairly big in terms of the Southern Conference.
Especially when you compare it like Wofford
and Furman, right? Very small school. So it's going to be, double the size of some of the schools without, going the full
my first thought
full conference enrollment.
And this is something we could research later on, Diesel. My first thought to that breaking news of Tennessee Tech is, what are their guidelines of being enrolled? What's their criteria of getting in? Because there's some schools in the Southern Conference that have some pretty. It's tough to get into Wofford. It's tough to get into Furman.
Mm-hmm.
Is it tough to get into Tennessee with 11,000 people? I would probably lean toward not so much.
UNC Greensboro is by far the biggest at 19,700 students. That's big.
That is big for Southern Conference.
Chattanooga, just under 12,000. Western Carolina, just over 12,000.
Wow, I didn't realize.
ETSU, 9,000. Mercer, 9,000. Sanford, 5. Furman, just under 3.
Yeah.
Citadel, about 4.
I think Wofford has 400.
1,700.
I was going to say,
1,700
Dorman
students.
High School is bigger than Wofford College.
VMI also has 1,700 students.
So Tennessee Tech going to be at the top. I mean, towards
close
the
to,
top, So how about that? Thanks to Pete Yanni for breaking that news during this very first segment. Interesting news there regarding the Southern Conference. Phil Steele has Wisconsin with the number 1 overall toughest schedule. He also has Mississippi State, the Bulldogs. You said it, 3 SEC teams in the top 5. Mississippi State, the tough games, Arizona State, Tennessee, A&M, Florida, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss. Most of those ranked. Pretty tough stretch there. Mississippi State, I'm looking, I don't know if you have it pulled up, Diesel, but I'm looking at Mississippi State's schedule, and I see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 wins. They're going to win 3 or 4 games. I mean, Mississippi State's this is as bottom of the barrel as you can get. I mean, they're right there with what Vandy was a couple of years ago. So the Bulldogs, 2. Arkansas with the 3rd toughest schedule, according to Phil Steele in the SEC. How about this, Diesel? Arkansas has that SEC slate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they also play Notre Dame out of conference. So the Razorbacks with Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Tennessee, A&M, Auburn, LSU, and Texas. That's a gauntlet. That's right now preseason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ranked teams on their schedule at number 3. So Phil Steele top 3, Wisconsin 1, Mississippi State 2, Arkansas 3. At 4, the Gamecocks of South Carolina. The toughest.
You're not even on the medal stand. I don't want to hear it from you Gamecock fans this year. I don't want to hear you whining about, we got a tough schedule.
They're 4 Diesel. Is that not good enough for you?
Yeah, they give you $50 million a year. So that's your penance for playing such a tough schedule.
And by the way, we will predict South Carolina's schedule at 4 o'clock today on the show. So stay tuned for that. Some Tolos already making their predictions in the chat comment or on the stream. On the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, Michael in Simpsonville says, my wife is, I have to listen to her cry all the time. LOL, Michael in Simpson. You mean a wife is what? Wisconsin?
A Wisconsin fan or a South Carolina fan?
Let us know on that. That was 9 minutes ago. So, Michael, let us know what team she's a fan of. Tiger Pal Rachel says, fun fact, Furman's the smallest college to win a national championship in Division I AA FCS football.
How about that?
Look at Tiger Pal Rachel coming in with some stats.
Do you know when Furman's last national championship was?
No, Diesel. I there's a Furman flag behind me, but I don't. Should I know that?
They achieved it in 1988. 1988 was their national championship year. They beat Georgia Southern in the national championship game.
I bet you hated to see that.
Well, I was 4, so I didn't even know what a football was at the time. But 85, and they also played for the national championship in 2001.
How about that?
Yeah.
Good to hear from you, by the way, Tiger Pal Rachel. It's been a while. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. I get this
feeling that we're going to start getting a couple of Tolos come out of the woodworks that
more than a couple,
disappear for a while.
More. I'd say a couple hundred.
We know their name because they called in last year. They played in the Upset Picks Challenge, and they're going to start coming back out now.
Oh, next Wednesday when that Upset Picks Challenge, we'll see names. All we'll be seeing is, hadn't heard from them in a while. Hadn't heard. By the way, Tolos, Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's 1 week.
And we're going to remind you of the rules very quickly to start the next segment and move on to something else after that. But those of you who don't know, or those of you who are just coming back to the show, we'll refresh you on the rules next.
So don't want to spend too much time on South Carolina here because we're going to predict their schedule at 4 o'clock. But South Carolina has the 4th toughest schedule in the country, according to Phil Steele. So, Diesel, when I this morning was going through South Carolina's schedule, it was much more challenging for me than Clemson's was yesterday. And a lot of that has to do with them being obviously in the SEC.
Sure.
But there's a possibility, there's a road to where South Carolina could start 5-0. However, after that bye week of October the 4th, look at their schedule. The next 6 out of 7 games outside of Coastal Carolina are absolutely brutal. That stretch at LSU, Oklahoma, Bama, at Ole Miss, at A&M, and hosting Clemson. 6 out of your last 7 are brutal.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of TVs sold in South Carolina Gamecock households around Christmas time, because I think a lot of Gamecock fans are going to be throwing full beers through their TV screens.
That's a tough stretch, man. It really
start off
is.
hot, you fall down the stretch. That could be tough.
I just don't like. I mean, I wish they were scattered a little bit. If you're a Gamecock fan, I mean, they're all right there. 6 of your last 7 are ranked opponents.
How come when it's supposed to be randomized, South Carolina tends to get the short end of that stick?
I'll tell you this also, man, do I miss divisions in the SEC? I really do.
Yeah.
I miss Carolina playing Florida. I miss Carolina playing Georgia.
You know what's funny about that is the Sun Belt. It's the only major conference, the only Division I conference that still has divisions, true divisions.
Sun Belt.
East, West. The line is the Georgia-Alabama state line. Anybody west of that's in the West, anybody east in the East. There are fans among Sun Belt fan bases who say, we should get rid of divisions. No, we shouldn't. We absolutely should not get rid of divisions. Divisions were great.
Yeah, I think it's definitely different. And I think somebody asked Shane Beamer that question either last year or sometime in the offseason about all the teams that he remembers South Carolina playing, right, in the East. And it's just the schedule's different.
I always argued, why would you want to see a team that you have proximity and familiarity with less, so that you could see a team that's 1,000 miles away more often?
Yeah.
And sometimes, it's going to be Texas. It's going to be A&M. It's going to be Oklahoma. But sometimes it's Mississippi State. And it makes you say, I don't really want to play Mississippi State. I'd rather play Kentucky, or I'd rather play Florida.
So how about this? According to Phil Steele, I didn't see this one coming until this morning when I was doing this segment. Syracuse, Diesel. Syracuse has the 5th toughest schedule in America? Why? Why is that?
Why?
Let's take a look. They open with Tennessee and Atlanta, Georgia, as we all know. The day before South Carolina plays there, by the way.
The ACC got the toughest out-of-conference slate in America. It was all over the branding and the walls at ACC kickoff.
Yeah, it was in the books, in the So they opened with Tennessee, ranked team. Then they host UConn, and then they host the toothpaste brand the next week.
Colgate.
Correct.
Do you know what their mascot is?
Oh, my gosh. Hold on a minute. No, I don't. I really don't. Is it Cougar?
They are the
Colgate Cougars.
Colgate are the
you should know this,
They're the Raiders.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. They're the Raiders.
The Colgate Raiders.
I didn't know
Raider is the name.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Of the mascot.
They're the Raiders, yeah. How about that? So Syracuse with the 5th toughest schedule. Tennessee, UConn, Colgate, at Clemson, Duke, at SMU, hosting Pitt, at Georgia Tech, hosting North Carolina, at Miami, at Notre Dame, and then hosting Boston College. Tolos, that schedule that I just read for Syracuse, do you think that's the 5th toughest schedule in the country? I know Clemson and Tennessee are on there.
Preseason number 10, Miami, on the road. Preseason number 6, Notre Dame, on the road. So, look, they got a couple of teams that by the draw of where they get to play them certainly makes things tougher. So they got to go on the road and play 1, 2, 3 top 10 teams, and they will host number 24, Tennessee, and host number 16, SMU.
So I guess here's my problem. My question to you, Diesel, with Syracuse being the 5th toughest schedule. Explain to me how Syracuse has the 5th toughest schedule in the country, yet they only play one SEC team, and the next one down at 6 is LSU, who literally is in the SEC. I don't know. Maybe I know Phil still has his reasons for putting them there. I get that. There are a lot of things that go into it. But, Syracuse schedule, to your point, is tough. But 5th? But ahead of LSU and Oklahoma and Kentucky? So let's pull up, let's see, LSU head-to-head versus Syracuse. LSU has Clemson, Florida. I'm just reading big games. Ole Miss, South Carolina, A&M, Bama, and Oklahoma. That's a tougher schedule to me.
By far, I would think.
Then
and look, and Phil Steele's magazine comes out well before the AP poll, so he doesn't know where these teams are going to end up. What the numbers that we're looking at: number 4, Clemson; number 5, Florida. These are AP poll numbers.
That's right.
He goes. I think he goes strictly off the data.
That's a couple months ago, right?
And like as many times as we brought Kelly Ford on, he will tell us all the time that there are points that the data leads to that are not what he thought would logically be the case. Logically, you wouldn't say that Syracuse has a tougher schedule, but the data shows that they've got a tougher road.
So it goes to end this segment. Wisconsin 1, Mississippi State 2, Arkansas, South Carolina, Syracuse at 5, LSU at 6, Oklahoma at 7, UCLA at 8, Kentucky with a 9th toughest schedule, and Stanford rounding out at number 10. Again, Clemson, for you Clemson fans, Phil Steele has Clemson with the 29th toughest schedule in all of college football in 2025.
Well, that's because Clemson only plays 3 preseason ranked teams. LSU at home, SMU at home, and number 13, South Carolina on the road.
That's right. They don't play Miami.
Louisville not ranked.
That surprised me a little
Even though
bit.
we think Louisville's going to be a tough game for them.
Yeah.
And I think you even have them losing that game.
I do. On a Friday night.
We had that for you yesterday. If you want to go back and catch it, do it on the free Odyssey app or on the iHeart app where you can find your podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Just search Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. When we come back, Cole, you posted a photo on our Facebook page where it was a photo of you and I accepting our Star Award.
Yeah.
And you had ChatGPT roast us.
Yeah.
I don't know if we actually read that on the air.
No, I don't think we did.
We are going to read that on the air, but I took it a step farther. I had ChatGPT roast Clemson and South Carolina's football programs, and we'll get you caught back up on the Wire to Wire Upset Picks Challenge brought to you by Ingles Rules next. Tolos. This time, 1 week from right now, the very first Upset Picks Challenge lines will be locked in, and you will be 30 minutes away from getting in your very first, call it week 0, upset pick for the Upset Picks Challenge, brought to you by Ingles. It's wire to wire. He's Cole Bryson. I'm Diesel. Last year, we had the most total number of players we've ever had in the Upset Picks Challenge.
Let's
I know that we're going to surpass that this year because we got so many people moving to the upstate. So many people love sports talk and finding this show, and we know we're going to continue to grow this thing. Dan B always has the numbers like right on hand. I don't know if he's watching the stream right now, but he always gives the numbers for how many people, how many unique players we had last year. And the total number of picks, and that's a record from anything we'd had before. So we're definitely looking to blow it up this year.
I'm going to I've got good vibes, good juju. I'm going to do a lot better this season, Diesel, than I did. I was horrible last year.
It's okay,
Frank. No, it's not.
It's okay.
Horribleness is not accepted. You can't stink. You can't just suck it up like that. It was bad. I thought I'd be good at this, but I wasn't.
But
in year one, man.
All it takes is for you to go on a heater, hit it like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. You can have a 0 up until like week 6 or 7. Go on a heater and find yourself in the top half of the rankings.
Or you're just going to, or I could just hit every week like I'm going to do this.
Well, that's the plan, right?
I'm going to hit every week. Dang it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit every upset pick. Y'all Tolos have no chance. I'm dominating this.
Well, it's going to be you and Harold fighting for 80 points.
That's true. I forget about Harold. He did good last
Wellness
year.
check. Harold, are you okay?
And who was
Are
our
you out
reigning?
there? Twisted Whisker was the winner last year. He finished with 84 points. Twisted Whisker number 1, which means in all likelihood, Twisted Whisker won't even crack the top half this year because there's no rhyme or reason as to why you get them right sometimes, and next year you're just awful at it.
84. I don't think I had 4.
Yeah.
84 points.
John Dog finished in second place, and Joe D finished in third.
Is that Joe Dirt?
No, just Joe D.
But I didn't know. He was
It's actually pronounced Deerte. He puts an E on the end of it, pronounces it Deerte. It's pretty cool. Reminder here for you Tolos who are new to the show or just need a reminder on how this thing works. It's a very simple game. There's a grand total of 9 rules, and that's it. And some of these aren't really even rules. They're just reminders. Rule number 1, you will be asked to pick a game where you think the betting underdog will win the game outright. So you got to pick the underdog to win the game outright. We're not going against the spread. Win the game outright. We use the spreads listed on ESPN.com and lock them in every Wednesday at 3 p.m. And that means whether you pick on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, everybody who picks the same game will get the same number of points. Again, we use the spreads on ESPN.com. Don't get them somewhere else, because you may be picking a game because you think you get another point or half point or whatever it is. That's not the case. ESPN.com is where we get them. On Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, we open up the submissions. You can text or call 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. You give us your name, your game, and the spread. We must have all 3 of those pieces of information to count your pick. You have to submit your picks during show hours. So while we're on the air, if you get the correct pick, if you get your pick correct, the spread gets added to a rolling season-long tally. So if you pick a game where a team is 4.5-point underdogs, you say that team's going to win. They do. You get 4.5 points. Next week, you get one right for 3 points. Guess what? Now you have 7.5 points. Math is hard for some people.
Yeah.
If you get a pick wrong, you lose a point. If you don't make a pick at all, you lose 2 points. So it behooves you to be here every single week making your picks. You have essentially, I'm not good at math here. You have 11 hours a week to get your picks in. You have 3 hours on Wednesdays, 4 hours on Thursdays, 4 hours on Fridays.
Plenty of time.
No excuses.
Plenty of time.
And the highest score wins. That's it's simple as that. Again, we are breaking the week 0 games, the 5 games that are on Saturday the 23rd. We're breaking those games out as their own week. So that's week 0. And then we'll pick up with the following week after that. And it's because some of those teams do play twice. They play a week 0 and a week 1 game. If you really wanted to pick that team twice, you could.
Yeah, and a key, Tolos, when you're on the ESPN app at the very top, make sure you haven't selected top 25. It defaults to that a lot, so click the arrow and then look for FBS 1A. That'll show the whole list. So next Saturday, every game except for Idaho State, UNLV has a spread. Hopefully –
that's because Idaho State is an FCS game.
Hopefully, though, there's just it'll have a spread somewhere, but maybe not on ESPN.
If there's a spread on ESPN, you can pick it.
That's right.
If there's no spread on ESPN, you can't pick it.
Yeah.
We had last year somebody trying to text in with like Division II games, and I'm sure somebody out there is putting a line on that, but we don't care about that.
Idaho State, UNLV, in my mind, I don't think it will. If it's not on there now on ESPN, I don't think it'll be there. So I think there will only be 4 games to choose from. That's Iowa State, Kansas State, Fresno State, Kansas, Sam Houston versus Western Kentucky, and Stanford versus Hawaii. You realize that's next Saturday? Like it is here. Those games may not be worth a you-know-what, but it's football, and then you only have to wait until the following Thursday. There's no action, no Tuesday or Wednesday, that first full week, Diesel. I mean, there are a ton of games on Thursday and Friday night in that first real week of college football. How
many people are going to be bold enough, Cole, to go big in week 1? To go for the biggest one there is.
Kansas, Fresno State. Kansas is favored by 12.5 points.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it behooves you to go for it, but there's a pretty good chance you'd hit with Iowa State beating Kansas State.
Because
it's a road game.
And it's only 3.5.
3.5 point spread. They're 2 ranked teams. Iowa State's on the road at Kansas State. You can get 3.5.
I'll tell you right now, that'll be the most picked game.
You think so?
Week. Yeah, no doubt.
And
Iowa State, Kansas
you don't
State.
have to pick top 25 teams. As long as there's a spread on it on ESPN.com, you can pick it.
Yeah, that'll be in my opinion, that's the noon game. That's the first game. It is 3.5. But the question is, like, going to the Upset Picks Challenge conversation of strategy, what's 3.5 points going to get you? In week 1, week 0. You're on the board.
Sure.
You're on the board, but I look at that Sam Houston versus Western Kentucky at 10. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Question is, do you want to go smart play? Do you want to go big play?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go big first week.
T Swizzle says Delvin. I think he's saying Delvin is going to have a big year this year. Delvin usually is very good at this challenge. He was really bad last year.
Yeah, he was.
But I think Delvin's going to go on a heater, man. Delvin has he has this analytical brain that notices so many trends, and he's really good at picking up on injuries.
Every dog has its day.
That's true.
Last year, dog just wasn't yours, Delvin. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Yeah. So Cole, we won an award 2 weeks ago. We had a great time down in Columbia accepting the award for SCBA Star Awards for best sports talk show in the state of South Carolina. We won the award of merit, not the first.
And
place
by the
award.
way, we were the only daily show that was nominated. In terms of daily shows, every day there was no other daily show nominated. So there's that.
Correct. The show that we went up against was a weekly show, right?
It wasn't daily.
So we posted a photo. We took a photo of us holding the award. You sent it to ChatGPT and said, roast us, hit us with what you got. And I thought it was hilarious. You sent it to me, I guess probably to say, hey, is this okay to post on the Facebook page?
I'd already posted it.
I laughed my you-know-what off.
Yeah, I already posted it by the time I saw it.
Okay, good.
It was funny.
So if you haven't seen the photo, go to the Fan Upstate Facebook page, and ChatGPT roasted us as such. By the way, to set the picture here, if you're not familiar with it, Cole's wearing a black suit, white shirt, red tie. He's got the stash and a big smile on his face. I'm wearing a sort of blue and brown jacket with a white shirt, and I've got unbuttoned to show off the lettuce on the chest. Here's what they say about us. Cole looks like a car salesman who just sold himself a 2012 Kia Soul and is way too proud of it. That red tie says power move, but the way you're holding that award says, I'm just happy to be here.
And that I mean, if you know me, that last part
Pretty accurate.
is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I had zero desire to be there that night, but I was there.
But you were there.
I was there. Isn't that weird how accurate that is? Like, I didn't give it any
Solid.
other information, Diesel.
Have you ever sold a car like that? Have you ever sold a used car? Have you ever thought about being a used car salesman?
Yeah, I think I'd be pretty good at it.
I think you would.
But no, I did. It was funny though, man.
It says Diesel looks like he just got dragged to this event straight from a brewery tour. That sports coat is screaming, "I'm formal, but I still shotgun IPAs." And that beard, it's giving, "I'm one craft coffee away from starting a podcast no one asked for."
How, like, on the whole beer thing, how does it know? Like, I gave it no details.
Nothing.
And it knew between the two of us that you're the beer drinker and the brewery. I mean, like, you were out there. I didn't give it any information.
Our bearded bros just like that easy to spot.
Maybe.
It's like, here's all the things dudes with beards like.
And it was funny, man. I loved it.
It was great. So I had ChatGPT roast our two in-state college football programs, and I want to see what you Tolos think of it. Cole, you can react to it and say what's accurate and what's not. So would you rather hear the roast of Clemson first or the roast of South Carolina first?
Ladies first. Go Gamecocks.
Okay. South Carolina football. Again, this is ChatGPT, not me.
I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
South Carolina football is basically the ACC's favorite charity case, except they're not even in the ACC. Every year is billed as the year they turn the corner, but it turns out the corner just leads into another brick wall. They talk about Beamer ball like it's a revolution, but half the time it looks more like an interpretive dance performed by confused freshmen. Their offensive line might as well be a turnstile at a busy subway station. Defenders just tap in and go straight to the quarterback. The run game, if falling forward 2 yards were a stat that mattered, they'd be national champs. And for a fan base that loves to brag about beating Clemson twice in the past decade, it's telling when your program's highlight reel couldn't fit comfortably in a TikTok video.
That is maybe not the most accurate, but it's still very funny. It is funny.
It says Williams-Brice on a Saturday night is loud, sure, but so is a malfunctioning fire alarm, and neither one produces much in the way of results. They've got just enough occasional upset wins to keep the fan base hopeful, and just enough crushing blowouts to make sure they stay humble.
Jeez.
Well, humble-ish.
That's kind of, I mean, that last part was a little rough, wasn't it? All right, Clemson.
All right, South Carolina, you Gamecock fans, what did you think about that? Your reaction, 844-FAN phone. I asked ChatGPT to roast the Clemson football program, and here's what it had to say. Clemson football has gone from being kings of college football to looking like they're starring in a Where Are They Now documentary. The offense, once a finely tuned machine, now feels like it's running Windows 95. Slow, clunky, and liable to crash at any moment.
Ooh.
Dabo still talks like he's building an underdog dynasty, but the rest of the country is watching a guy cling to 2018 highlights like it's his high school prom night.
My gosh.
The quarterback pipeline that used to give us Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, yeah, that's been replaced with a leaky faucet that occasionally drips out a decent throw.
Oh.
The wide receivers room, once WRU, now couldn't scare a mid-tier ACC secondary. And let's not even get started on the offensive line. It's basically an open door policy for pass rushers. And for all the talk about family and loyalty, it's starting to feel more like stubbornness and refusal to adapt.
Jeez.
Dabo's allergic reaction to the transfer portal is so bad, you'd think it was made of poison ivy. Meanwhile, other programs are upgrading their rosters overnight, while Clemson is still running practice tryouts like it's 2009.
Yeah.
Long story short, Clemson went from feared national juggernaut to a program hoping people still remember that one time they beat Alabama. If they keep trending like this, the only playoff they'll be making is in NCAA video game simulations.
It's done now?
It's done.
Okay. That was long. That was really long.
Yeah.
But it was funny. It was funny. I thought both were pretty good. I really did. See what else is pretty good? The top stories in sports. It's our Daily Wires next. not talking to you, Tolos, but I am in a way because it's the Daily Wires.
Bzzz.
It's what's happening in the sports world. A lot to get to. And sometimes during football season, this segment has to be broken up into two segments because there's so many headlines, so much juicy stuff, Diesel. Speaking of juicy, the New York Mets juiced the Braves on Tuesday, 13-5, and the Braves lose again. You're surprised,
That's
right?
not juicy. That's sloppy.
On the Braves part.
Yeah.
It is. Hub City Spartanburgers have now lost 6 of their last 7, including last night's 3-0 loss to Brooklyn, 6:40 p.m. first pitch tonight. Man,
Brutal road trip
no
up
doubt.
north.
Go up north and
Never play
Whew.
there again.
yeah, take them off the schedule, right? Can you do that? Can we schedule like the drive again? Diesel, in the NL East, the Philadelphia Phillies currently have a 5-game lead over the New York Mets. So the Mets still in striking distance, but it's getting close to the end of the season here in a couple of months. Philadelphia, though, is 7-3 in their last 10 games. The Angels turned a rare triple play last night. A line drive hit right up the middle was caught by the shortstop, who was standing directly behind the tag. He tagged second and threw the runner out at first. You don't see that happening much, do you?
Bang, bang, bang play, and it's the shift. You know, if the shift was all the way on, probably a year before that, the shortstop might have been on the other side of the bag, on the first base side of the bag. But because the shift limits him to behind second base, he was right there.
Not necessarily sports related, but it could impact local sports, Diesel, with high school football week 0 next week. Our meteorologist, Dewey's buddies, are telling us that we're now in hurricane watch mode as Tropical Storm Erin has developed off to the east and is expected to turn into a Category 3 hurricane by this weekend. The exact path is still in flux as to whether or not we will be impacted. Hopefully not. We had enough of that last year.
I hope you're prepared, though. Are you going to go buy any?
No.
Go get your frozen pizzas, your
Cauliflower.
real frozen, not cauliflower pizzas. Dan, talking to you.
Yeah.
Go get your frozen pizzas now. You'll
That's
be
funny.
okay.
That was good. Jordan Love had surgery on Tuesday. The season's about to start. To repair a ligament injury to his left thumb, but the Green Bay Packers expect the star quarterback to be ready for their season opener. Love, who had his left thumb taped during Monday's practice, tried to play through the injury, but ultimately said, Diesel, let's go ahead and knife this thing up. That's interesting. Right before the season.
Well, it's his non-throwing hand,
Yeah,
so
hopefully
it won't
enough.
be that big of a deal.
Vikings receiver, punt returner Rondell Moore suffered a season-ending left knee injury in Saturday's preseason game against the Texans. The team confirmed Tuesday after reviewing MRI results. He'll miss a full season for the second straight year.
Ouch.
That's awful to hear, man.
Ouch.
It really is. Ouch on his part and for us too.
Might as well go ahead and take the money you've already earned and retire.
Speaking of retire, Aaron Rodgers, your boy, might have found the right team fit in Pittsburgh, but he's still looking for the right fit on his head. The helmet the quarterback wore last season, the Shoot Air XP Pro X11 LTD, that's legit, is now banned for failing to meet the NFL's new safety guidelines.
What's the matter? It's not big enough?
I don't know, for his ego or his head.
Both.
Rodgers has been now practicing in a new helmet. He said, I don't like it. He said, I'm still trying to change it. We're still in the process. He says, looks like a spaceship. We got to change it. The face mask doesn't fit. It's an old face mask. Long story short, Aaron Rodgers isn't happy.
Peculiar story about an older guy that refuses change. Odd how that's going down with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers. Talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Diesel.
With Steelers camp. What are you talking about, Cole? What are you laughing at?
Nothing. I have no idea. Inside joke there. That was good.
All these helmets though, they sound like deep dive Audi
They do.
car units.
Last one for you, and probably the most impressive. I can't stand Pete Alonso. However, I have to give him credit here. The moment Pete Alonso couldn't have imagined. As a baseball-loving kid growing up in Florida, arrived on Tuesday night, Diesel. Alonso broke the Mets' franchise home run record, going deep twice, knocking in 3 runs in the win over the Atlanta Braves. I'll tell you what, he passed Darryl Strawberry, which is impressive, who held the team mark since 1988.
How about
That's
that?
that's impressive.
Way
Peter
to go,
Lonzo.
Pete.
I don't like them, but I guess you got to give credit where credit's due. Those are your daily wires.
When we come back, we will give our official predictions for the 2025 South Carolina Gamecocks season. Yesterday, we gave our Clemson predictions. Both you and I had Clemson going 11-1. You had them losing to Louisville.
That's
I
right.
had them losing to South Carolina to close out the season. We'll give our 2025 Gamecock predictions next. It's time, Tolos, for Cole Bryson and myself to make our official 2025 South Carolina Gamecock win-loss predictions. You're going to want to get out a pen and paper, write this stuff down, or just go back and find it anytime you want on the free Odyssey app. And then when we're wrong, of course, you can bring that back to us and yell at us and say, you guys are idiots and don't know what you're talking about. Because on August 13th, 2025, you said that South Carolina was going to lose, whatever. Yeah. You can bring that information back at us if you want to. Again, yesterday we did our game-by-game Clemson predictions, 11-1. Both of us had them going. Cole had them tripping up on a Friday night in Louisville, Kentucky, which I think is going to be a legitimately tough game for them. I just don't know that Louisville has the horses to get it done on a Friday. I had them, and I promise you I'm not trying to suck up to you Gamecock fans. I had Clemson losing their first game of the year in their 12th game of the year on the road at Williams-Brice Stadium. Look, the criticisms at South Carolina's Gamecock secondary is very, very young, valid at this point of the season right now. They may not be valid by then. I think this Gamecock secondary could get a lot better towards the end of the season. But here we go. Game by game predictions and projections. You tell us where we're wrong, 844-FAN phone, or comment on the stream. Cole, we're getting things started in Hotlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, South Carolina versus Virginia Tech to start the season. How do you see that one going?
You know, this morning when I was doing these predictions at like 5-something in the morning, I struggled then, and I'm still struggling now. However, I do have South Carolina taking care of business in Atlanta. South Carolina's schedule sets up really interesting, and I don't think that's in a good way. However, August 31st, 3 o'clock, the Gamecocks will open up 1-0. Virginia Tech just doesn't have the horses to go toe-to-toe with South Carolina. And for that reason, the Gamecocks win by probably 14, 21, maybe 17, something like that.
I could see this game being, fairly competitive. And by competitive, neither team doing a whole lot with the ball in the first quarter. Second quarter, maybe South Carolina picks up a touchdown or two and then sort of breaks it open by the end of the game, because I think it's going to take just a little bit of time for both offense and defense to find their rhythm. But I do think South Carolina wins this game fairly easily. I just wonder from you old school Gamecock fans who remember the fact that these two teams played each other every year from 1986 to 1991, would you want this series to become a somewhat annual thing, not an annual thing, but a regular thing?
I would imagine Gamecock fans would say no to that.
Really?
But tell me if I'm wrong, Carolina fans out there listening at 844-FAN-FONE. I could be wrong on that.
Now, if Frank Beamer was still there, absolutely make it an annual game. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So we both have them starting 1-0. Yep. South Carolina State 2-0.
Oh, no.
Not so fast, my friend.
Are you kidding me? Are the Bulldogs?
Can't overlook the Bulldogs.
In-state rivalry. Who's the real South Carolina? Who stated? No. South Carolina Gamecocks win big. Another name your score type of game.
Gamecocks are going to win this game and then sue South Carolina State for using their color scheme. They do put a little blue in there.
They do. 2-0.
So 2-0. How about game number 3 at home, hosting Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores?
I'm already sick of Diego Pavia. I'm just sick of him. His little smirk and all this trash talk about we're winning the national championship. Dude, pump the brakes. You're at Vandy. You had a great year last year. Whatever. What a great year for Vandy standards. It ain't happening again. The Gamecocks start 3-0, in my opinion.
I agree that they beat Vanderbilt at home. Yeah. I mean, look, maybe Diego Pavia can do it 2 years in a row and have himself a couple of good games this year. But I just think, man, they caught some lightning in a bottle last year. I don't think it's going to happen for them twice. Game number 3, Cole, do you have South Carolina going 4-0 after Missouri on the road?
So,
here's where it gets tricky.
As I was going through this morning, the Missouri game's the one, Diesel, for me, that I struggled with the most.
Mhm.
I know that might sound surprising. At Mizzou, who's replacing Brady Cook, new quarterback, a lot new on offense. We all know that Eli Drinkwitz is a good coach. But Missouri is going to have one of the better defensive units in the nation. They
Mhm.
brought back 9 starters from a season ago. Their defense is going to be really good.
Mhm.
So I was on the phone with a buddy of mine this morning who's pretty involved at South Carolina, and we were talking about the schedule in this game. Diesel, I think this game at Missouri, and I know it's not the marquee matchup, I think this game for South Carolina is what sets the tone and dictates the rest of the schedule.
Really?
Yeah, if here's the reason I say that. If you lose at Mizzou, you're probably a 5-loss team. You're probably a 5-loss team. If you win at Mizzou, I'm going to give you a lot of credit for that win, and maybe you're a 3 or 4-loss team. I think the trajectory of this season all hinges on that one game at Mizzou. Diesel, ultimately, to answer your question, I have South Carolina winning the game, but I'll tell you this. I think it's going to be tough to go win at Mizzou. On the road?
Well, think about this. South Carolina, who loves to talk about streaks of 5, you know what I'm talking about. How about let's talk about the 5 straight games you lost to Missouri before you finally beat them last year, and you needed a walk-off game winner with 15 seconds left to do it. Missouri almost made it 6 in a row against you. This isn't a trap game. Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz just have South Carolina's number. Way back when Eli Drinkwitz was at App State and beat South Carolina in Columbia. You said it, 9 defensive starters back, 6 offensive starters back, not including the quarterback. I think this is going to be one of those weird, low-scoring, maybe mistake-prone games that South Carolina is known for having at least one of those every year. Something about this game and something about this opponent, South Carolina just can't get them out of their head. They are their bugaboo. And I think South Carolina loses on the road at Missouri.
Okay.
Even though I think South Carolina is the better football team,
Yeah,
I think they're going to lose this one on the road. So I've got them sitting at 3-1 after 4.
So I agree with you that this is my opinion. I think it's the most tricky game on the schedule. I don't think it's the most difficult game. I think it's the trickiest game on the schedule. I agree with you there. However, I do believe, Diesel, that the better quarterback wins in this one. I think it's going to be close. Missouri's defense is going to be really good, but Lenora Sellers is the better quarterback. I'm telling you, I can't emphasize this enough, Diesel, for South Carolina fans out there today, how important this game is. Like, I know it's just Missouri. This game on September 20th is huge. You win it, and all of a sudden, you have a chance to start, dare I say, 5-0 going to the bye. But I went back, I wrestled with this. I went back and forth with this, but I am going to give the Gamecocks a close win on the road, Diesel.
So you, depending on where you have them against Kentucky, you have them starting 5-0. Is that correct?
I have them starting 5-0.
5-0 by that
5-0.
point. And if South Carolina's 5-0 at that point, we're definitely talking about a top 10 team just because of the chaos above them. Somebody's going to fall out, make room for South Carolina to probably move up at 5-0. I mean, they would be one of the, we talked about it yesterday, one of the hot girls of college football. People would be saying, oh my God, this streak of 5-0, isn't it amazing?
I just think ultimately what happens in that Missouri game, like we all know that it's not going to impact how you play in the other games, but I do, like we had this argument at a buddy's house Saturday night. I made a $100 bet that Carolina wouldn't lose 5 games. The guy that we were with, it was a lot of people over. He said they will lose 5 games. I said, they're not going to lose 5 games. So going back this morning, one by one, I was like, crap. The realistic aspect is there is a path for them to lose 5 games, and it's realistic. But I've got them going 5-0 to start the 2025 season going into the bye.
Bye week, they get to lick their wounds a little bit, get healthy for the hardest stretch of just about anybody in the country. It's like riding a roller coaster, that long, slow ratchet, tick, 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 tick up the hill, and then whoosh, down the hill they go on the road at LSU, who, by the way, are also coming off a bye.
I think number one, I think the bye week sets up perfect, right? Like if you could pick a bye week, you'd pick this one and you'd probably pick the other one. Like in a perfect world, I think the bye week sets up really nice. However, barring an injury, the Gamecocks aren't going into Baton Rouge, Louisiana and walking out victorious in 2025. I know Lenore Sellers is really good, but LSU wins that game. And that's my first loss of the 2025 season, Diesel.
I think South Carolina literally gave LSU all it had to give them last year. And the fact that they still came up short, man, that's going to stick in your heart.
Now,
and Gamecock fans are going to be salty about that one forever. And I know we always say that what happened last year really has no bearing on what happens this year. But that was South Carolina's best chance last year. You had your first-year starter in Garrett Nussmeier, and South Carolina's team was as good as it was going to be. And you can argue all day that you should have won that football game. You led for 55 minutes, for crying out loud. But doesn't matter if you lead for the first 55. It only matters who's leading at all zeros. I've got South Carolina losing this game on the road.
Yeah, look, we just gave them, if Shane Beamer wanted it, plenty of bulletin board material with those two picks, especially saying there's no chance they go in and win. I do think there's a slim chance. I just think I think LSU's the better team. I love Shane Beamer. I love South Carolina's direction that they're going as a program. I hope Shane Beamer's not watching the show right now, because if he is, he probably don't like me anymore. You never know. He does follow me on Twitter, so you have to kind of be careful sometimes of what you say, right? Because Beamer just might randomly get bored in the afternoon and click on wire to wire. So
he may throw shots at this radio station again. It wouldn't be the first time.
That's what I'm saying. But look, I'll say this. If somehow, some way they could go in there, then you're talking about Shane Beamer doing the unthinkable. 6-0 at LSU. I mean, there'd be nothing I can say. There'd be nothing I can say, but I don't think it happens.
Next game, facing Oklahoma at home. Remember, this was the game last year that this team absolutely blew out of the water and trounced Oklahoma last year. I got them going 2-0 against the Sooners.
I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I do think that game at home, following a loss, huge crowd, right? Hadn't been home in 3 weeks. They're not going to play two bad games in a row in my mind. I think it's going to be close. I have these. Let me check my notes to make sure.
John Mateer might not even be eligible for this game.
Venmo. How many Venmos?
Yeah, exactly.
I have South Carolina winning this game. So I have them at, 5, 6, and 1? Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1. 6 and 1. That's where I have them at this point in the season.
Hey, John Mateer, if you're listening, I bet you $20 I can get you gambling by the beginning of the season. How about that? Will you take that bet? Next game, Cole, at home against Kalen DeBoer and Alabama.
They lose that one.
Tough one.
I just think ultimately, you said it with LSU last year. I think ultimately Carolina, they only get so many chances in life to beat Bama. And last year they had them beat. Lenore Sellers put the ball on the ground, on the grass, and that lost them the game. We all know what happened at the end of the game. Bama's going to be better. I'd love to see it happen. It's in Williams-Brice. I think that place is going to be absolutely electric, but no, Bama gets the win that day.
Yeah,
Second loss.
That's going to be a spectacle. I don't know what else is happening on October 25th, but that might be one of the biggest games in the country on that weekend. You're probably looking at
Maybe
an
game
Alabama
day?
team. Could be game day.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome to see that down in Columbia. I also
Again.
have them losing to Alabama. So that would be 2 out of 3 in that brutal stretch of LSU, Oklahoma, and Alabama. Next up, Cole, do they get a break? No, they don't. They go on the road and face Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
So one of the things that's impressed me most about Shane Beamer-led teams, including last year, was South Carolina's ability to focus 1 week at a time and not make it about the entire season, right? They bounced back after the loss to LSU with a win Oklahoma, in my mind. I think it's going to be tough on the road, But Carolina played really good on the road last year. I think they bounce back again and get Ole Miss on the road this year. A little revenge game.
Yeah, I think they win the game, and I think it's a fairly close one. Obviously, with Ole Miss and a lot of turnover that they've had, they're not going to put up some gigantic gaudy numbers. They gave up 700 yards in 2020 to Ole Miss. I don't think we're going to see that horrible, ugly thing that we saw last year in Oxford, but we'll see a close game.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, in Columbia. We'll see a close game.
That'd be a big win for Carolina on the road.
Bye week after that, Cole, then they go on the road at Texas A&M.
So I have them losing this game, but I could see them winning this game. I just think A&M is going to be a sneaky good team in 2025. I really do. I think A&M could be a sleeper for the college football playoff. I don't think they will be, but I think it's a sleeper pick. I think this one's somewhat close, but I think A&M at home late in the season pulls away. And for me, that would be the third loss of the season for the Gamecocks on the road. I have them losing to A&M.
Yeah, I do too. I have them losing on the road at Texas A&M. Look, A&M is going to be a better team this year, and you go on the road and face that fan base and those weirdos. It's just there's something there.
It's tough.
That this game,
tough place to play.
It's a tough place to play. Again, I think it's going to be another close game, just as they won a close one 2 weeks before at Ole Miss. I'm going to say they lose a close one on the road at Texas A&M. I think both of us probably have them winning fairly handily over Coastal Carolina this year.
Oh,
right?
You think so?
Yeah,
You're right.
And then finally, Cole, the last game of the season, taking on the Clemson Tigers in Columbia.
This game, along with about three others, Diesel, I could see sitting here today on the 13th of August, I could see this game. And like I said, a few others going both ways. I really could. I could see Clemson winning. I could see South Carolina winning. It being at home, I think is going to be big for South Carolina. It's a noon game. It's already announced, which I don't know. I don't love. I don't think anybody loves it. But Diesel, I think ultimately Clemson will be hitting their stride by this point in the season. Clemson's just, in my opinion, on paper, the better team, position by position. We did that a couple of weeks ago. Remember, position by position, maybe last week. Clemson was the better team in my mind last year, but Lenora Sellers was the better player who made the biggest play of the game and won the game. I don't think that happens again. I think Cade Klubnik gets the last laugh as his last game against the Gamecocks. And I think Clemson wins a big one on the road to end the season.
See, I've got South Carolina winning this game. We talked about it yesterday. They've gone, in my mind, win-loss, 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 win, all from the Kentucky game all the way through the Coastal Carolina game. I think they break that tit-for-tat trading off wins and losses in this one because they're healthy when they played Coastal Carolina or after they played Coastal Carolina. I think this defensive secondary is going to grow up a lot through their very first or through this SEC season. And I think they're going to have some stars. They're going to have some studs on that defense that are definitely going to harry Cade Klubnik and this Clemson offensive line. I see him getting into the backfield, maybe forcing a fumble, scoop and score, going and winning the game. I like South Carolina to win this game at home against Clemson to close the season. And I put them at 8-4.
Me too.
With losses to Missouri, LSU, Alabama, and Texas A&M.
You know what's crazy about that? I have them at 8-4, but I could very easily see 7-5, and I could very easily see 9-3. However, before we run to a break, just real quick, a fun game, and I tell you what, let's save this for 5 o'clock. We just made our predictions for the Gamecocks, Diesel. At 5 o'clock, let's do this. If they make the playoffs, if I told you today that the Gamecocks are making the playoffs, who do they lose to? That'd be what, 2 teams? We'll do that at 5 o'clock. Coming up next, let's flip the coin to the other side and talk a little Clemson LSU. However, it's not a Clemson perspective today. Corey Diaz, LSU football reporter for USA Today. If you are a Clemson fan, you will not want to miss this LSU perspective as we're 17 days from Game Day. That's next. Well, we've talked a lot about Clemson and LSU leading up as we are 17 days away from the matchup that everyone in the upstate of South Carolina is anticipating. But today we're getting an LSU perspective. Corey Diaz, you've heard him on the show before, LSU reporter for USA Today. Corey, how are you, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Appreciate you hopping on. Diesel and I are going to bounce some questions off of you. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation, Corey, surrounding this game on the Clemson side of things. What would you, or how would you describe the outlook that LSU fans have as we're just 17 days away from this matchup? Because I would assume, without knowing, that much like Clemson, LSU fans are expecting to win this game.
Yeah, I would think so. The fan base is, they've never lacked for confidence, regardless of whomever, LSU is playing. And this game is certainly no different. I mean, also think there's a faction of the fan base that understands that, look, we're going on the road to open the year. We're facing a top, I guess depending on what poll you look at, right? Or top 5, top 10 consensus, top 10 team. And those games are, they're never easy, right? 7:30, Eastern time. It's going to be night. It's going to be, the environment in there is going to be probably unbelievable. There's a lot of things that, I think a team, when they're playing a game for the first time together, there's a lot yet to overcome when you're playing a season opener on the road against a really good team. So, I still think the fan base is really confident. I think the coaches and players, they sort of understand kind of what's in front of them. It's going to be a really fun game, man. I'm ready to roll the ball and get this thing going.
Corey Diaz, LSU football reporter for USA Today, joins us here on the show. Corey, appreciate you joining us today. I watched the Netflix Any Given Saturday documentary, and to me, Brian Kelly came off far more affable and friendly and likable than I think I've ever seen him before. It was obviously still funny to see, this big, beautiful house with a wall of expensive bottles of wine that probably cost more than my car. But in general terms, how do you think Brian fared after that documentary?
Man, I don't know, man. Let's see. I'm trying to describe this the best way I can. I've only seen like 40 minutes of the first episode. So I don't know if I'm the right guy to ask. I'm not like a big, I don't want to sound like I'm 84 years old. But like, I'm not just like a big TV guy. So I hadn't watched it, I watched a little bit of it. But we obviously interact with Brian Kelly every day. He's really good with us, man. Like literally just like, 24 hours ago, we were walking out of the football facility building, like literally with him, and he's joking around with it. There's like a group of like 5 or 6, reporters. And we're walking out of the building with him after, press conferences and stuff. I think we have player availability, and we're just cutting it loose, having some fun with him, and he's having some fun with us. That's at least, this is my second year on the beat. That's how I've come to know him. I know there's been some, things in the past that, would have you, portray Brian Kelly in one way, and certainly everyone's entitled to their own opinions and feelings. I can only attest to my personal experience with him, and my experience with him has been great.
Yeah, I think most people, even to Diesel's point after the documentary, feel differently about him, because I did watch it, Corey, and it does. We all like to judge somebody before we really know them and really get to hear about them or hear from them. Let me ask you this, Corey, when we talk about LSU Clemson coming up in just 17 days, do you feel like keeping it on the Brian Kelly conversation for just a minute? Because even though it's only your second year on the beat, how this fan base is. If LSU were to fall in that home opener, how much grace, how much leeway in your mind is the LSU fan base giving Brian Kelly?
Oh man,
not much.
Yeah. Look, listen. I'll say not a lot, but let me also say I think the added layer to that is that I don't really know if Brian and the coaching staff and the program itself has really sort of helped itself, because they've put so much into this opening game at Clemson.
Yeah.
They're the Clemson paw prints on the tackling dummies, the 1-0 with with the tiger emblem is literally plastered on every television monitor in the football facility building. It's in the giant jumbotron screen that they have inside of their indoor practice facility. Literally, I think it was this past Monday at practice, they were showing highlights and replays from the national championship game back in 2019 when LSU beat Clemson for it. They put so much into this, and the fan base knows it. And if they go up there, listen, if they go up there and Clemson wins the game on a walk-off field goal, hey, tip your cap, more power to them. It was a really competitive game. Great team, great game by both teams. One team was literally just one play better than the other. I think the fan base could accept that. But if you go to Clemson and you lose by 2 touchdowns, the fan base is going to go ballistic. And it's because of just the optics of this and what they've done in the offseason and how they've just very publicly have stated that this opening game at Clemson is so important. If you go up there and you lay an egg, if it's a dud of a performance, the fan base is not going to be happy.
Talking to Corey Diaz of USA Today, top portal class in the country, according to Phil Steele. Give me a guy or two out of the portal that you think are definitely going to be big time stars for the Tigers this year.
Okay. Listen, so they added 18 guys out of the portal, and I would say 16 of those guys are legitimately in the too deep today. Brian and his staff were very intentional this offseason inside the transfer portal. Obviously, a lot of donors and everything. There was a lot more coffers in the NIL, for them to go out and be able to attract a lot of these guys. But man, I could go down the list, man. It's like Barryon Brown, wide receiver, is going to be special. Bauer Sharp, Oklahoma transfer at tight end. He is going to be the starter in a couple of weeks at Clemson at tight end. And this kid, man, I don't know if I've seen him drop a pass in preseason practice. And his blocking is really good, which is what they needed at the tight end spot. Defensively, Bernard Gooden at defensive tackle. He's a little undersized. He's about 6 foot, maybe 255, maybe 260 on a good day. This kid is almost unblockable in practice. Mansour Delane, the Virginia Tech, which, Clemson fans should be somewhat familiar with. Mansour Delane, cornerback from Virginia Tech. He will be starting, at Clemson in a couple of weeks for LSU. Both of who I project to be the starting safeties. Tamarcus Cooley, who Clemson fans should also be familiar with, NC State transfer. He should be the field safety starter. And what's the other kid's name? AJ Halsey from Houston. He's a graduate senior. So LSU's only going to have him for 1 year. He's had a pretty good fall camp. He was an all Big 12 guy last year. He's going to be a guy that's probably more than likely going to be starting in a couple of weeks for LSU at Clemson. So there's a lot of guys, that I think are really in a position to, I don't know if quote unquote be a star, but these are guys that are going to be heavily involved in what LSU does week to week, and they're going to be major contributors for this team and its potential success.
Corey Diaz, USA Today reporter covering LSU football. When you look at the transfer, you mentioned this a minute ago, I believe, in one of your answers, Corey, but the transfer portal guys, some newness. How big of a concern is that for Brian Kelly? Has he talked a lot about that? Because you do look on the other side in 17 days, the Clemson team who's, almost like high school came up with each other, right? Like they've had each other around them for a while, a veteran-led team. They grew up with each other a couple of years ago, played well last year at times, didn't play well at times last year. But does Brian Kelly have any concern that this team, the gelling process might take longer than expected, and that could be a point of concern for this game against Clemson?
Well, he hasn't publicly come out and said, he's concerned about
Sure.
where the team, sort of its trajectory in terms of its chemistry and gelling. But, when you're out there at practice, I mean, you can see just some of the, I guess, like the typical mistakes you would see for guys who are just playing next to each other for the first time in their careers, right? Especially on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to have 4 new starting offensive linemen. 2 of those guys are transfers. Another kid that's likely going to be playing right tackle for LSU, he is a freshman. I think there's individual matchups in this game that if I'm Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, and Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, like I'm looking at like what Clemson's offering in those particular matchups, and I'm going, Jesus, like, are we going to be okay? I think there's just some mismatches there. But I do think there are others, that LSU might have the advantage of, and it's about taking advantage of the matchups that you feel like you do have that in. And so, I think right now, with it being 17 days, I don't think, Brian Kelly's pressing any panic button. I don't think the staff is pressing any panic button or the players. But listen, man, if we were to fast forward 14 days and we're 3 days out and, the offensive line's having 7 false starts in practice and doing these types of things, then I would say, it might be time to really sort of, sound the alarm inside the football facility building and get the guys together and go, listen, we're about to go on the road and play a really good football team. And you guys are out here just going through the motions. Like, we've got to get it together.
Corey, LSU gets 4 teams coming off byes this season. To be fair, 2 of those games, LSU is also coming off a bye, but going into the South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Alabama, and Arkansas games, all 4 of those coming off byes. I just want to know who at the league office did they upset? Who at the league office did they mail a flaming bag of Mike Tiger poop to get them upset at you?
It's a good question. I can remember, it's what seemed like, for years, like this was like something that Nick Saban and Alabama dealt with a lot. It was just like they played 3, 4, 5, 6 teams every year coming off a bye. Like it's weird how, and I think that I hadn't looked into it, and then maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong with this, but I'm pretty sure like Ole Miss was kind of in this situation last year. Because like I do remember Ole Miss came in, it was like the 5th game of the year, down to Baton Rouge, and LSU was just coming off of, a bye week. And, of course, and weirdly enough, LSU didn't even lead in the game, but won it in overtime on the, touchdown pass from Jared Nussmeier to Kyron Lacy. So it's like, I think it's just, sometimes it's just luck of the draw, you just hope you can sort of navigate those things. Look, Vanderbilt, man, having to play them with an extra week for them to prepare for you, like that might be the scariest thing in the SEC right now. As funny as that sounds, right? Like Diego Pavia and those guys, like they are so fun to watch. They're really good, sort of generational guys with that program. Like, man, having to you go on the road to Nashville to play them, and they're coming off a bye. They hadn't traveled in 2 weeks. They've had so much time to prepare for you. It's, man, that could easily be one of those quote unquote trap games, if you like to use that term.
Corey, we always appreciate your time, man. Great stuff. And let's do it again the week of, if that's okay with you, and really get this thing jacked. Our audience is ready, and I know you guys are as well.
Yeah, man, let's do it again. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Corey Diaz, USA Today. I think that's something, Diesel, going back to my question to him when I asked him about concern about the gelling process. I think that's something that will never be discussed publicly by a coaching staff at any level, but I do think those conversations are probably had and like thought about, because you got all these new guys. How are all these new guys going to do playing together on a big stage for the first time?
Yeah. I've asked a couple different guests from baseball guests to football guests over the years, basketball as well. As these kids are coming up playing a lot of youth 7-on-7, they're transferring in high school now. A lot of them, they're transferring in college. I wonder if they have this crop of guys that are playing college football now have sort of come up in this mindset of it really doesn't matter who's throwing me the ball. If I'm a receiver, it doesn't matter who's throwing me the ball. And I wonder if they just pick up on this ability to switch from quarterback to quarterback, which is a highly intricate exchange, right? It's all timing. If they're just better at doing that instead of having to spend multiple seasons with the same quarterback to really, really get that feel down. Also, Cole, consider this. In 2023, LSU had 8 returning offensive starters and Jaden Daniels, by the way. They averaged 45.5 points a game. This year, LSU has 8 returning offensive starters, and Garrett Nussmeier is back. I mean, this could be a prolific offense in 2025. Could be fun.
I tell you what, I just ultimately I think you're going to see a lot of NFL talent, at Death Valley on Saturday, August 30th, and whoever maybe just whoever makes the fewest mistake. Maybe it's that simple when it comes down to that game.
Tolos, when we come back, I want to ask you, especially the parents amongst you, a big question when it comes to your kids' sporting good equipment going into this year, whether they're in middle school, in high school. How much money have you spent on your kids' sporting good equipment this year? I want you to answer that question at 844-326-3663 next. just living these days is incredibly expensive. But if you have kids playing sports, and now that Greenville County, it's hard for me to read that. Greenville County's back to school now, right? They're back to school. I wonder from you parents, you Tolos who are parents, how much have you spent on your kids' sports, like equipment, lessons, etc., going into this school year? Because I found some data that, man, if this is what it costs, I'm going to be a bad parent because I'm not going to spend this. This is crazy. The typical U.S. parent spends around $1,000 annually per child on their primary sport. That's uniforms and lessons and registrations and camps and travel ball and all this mess. $1,000 per year. That's just on their primary sport, by the way. And if you got a multi-sport athlete, you're talking about $1,500, $2,000, a ton of money to get your kid ready to go for the school year and for the season.
I'll tell you this, I think it's probably a low number. I mean,
really,
those people that have kids that play sports, you know why? The sports are not once a year now anymore. Sports are year round. And the amount of money that's spent on youth sports from the time they start playing T-ball all the way through high school, I mean, it's ungodly. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It is amazing to think about and hear from people how much is spent on sports.
Whatever happened, I don't know if it was this way when you were a kid, because you're 28, I'm 41. But when I was a kid, when you played sports, they would just give you that stuff. I mean, like you had to go buy your pants and you had to go buy your, socks. If I'm thinking about baseball, right? You had to buy socks, cleats, pants, belt, jersey, glove. I guess with baseball, you have to buy most of your own stuff. But if you were playing an equipment-heavy sport like football, they would just give that stuff to you. You would get somebody's old, crummy, beat-up pads from the year before, and somebody else the year before that wore them, and somebody else the year that before that wore them. You'd get a helmet where the inside was all like squished down. It was a size and a half bigger than it was when it was brand new. Like you would just get that equipment. And like with baseball bats, the team had a bag full of bats and you would use what was there. You'd use what was available. Now everybody's got, that rolling travel bag with 3 bats and you got your 2 gloves in there and you got a TV. It's crazy what these parents are spending on their kids.
It is ridiculous. Tolo J. Butane said 500-ish. His son, number 24, Woodruff Middle School.
Free safety.
How about that? So 500-ish.
$500 for a middle school football season.
That's a lot.
That's wild. Corn Chip says, if you could count pageants as a sport, my wife, well, there's no defense in pageants. My wife would easily spend over that average for his daughter. Dewey says he spends 0. And I said, Dewey, you don't have kids because nobody will touch it.
Dewey, don't let Diesel talk to you like that. Come on, Dewey. Diesel, let's the 5 o'clock Tolos yesterday showed out strong, and I want to hear from the Gamecock fans, some of which may have not gotten off work yet. 7 or 8 minutes, 5 o'clock, right, ending that Wednesday. Dive back into what we predicted for South Carolina, but also ask the question, if the Gamecocks somehow, some way make the college football playoff, we would assume they go 10-2, right? Or 11-1. But I would say safe to bet 10-2. What would that look like? Who would those 2 losses be? What is the path for South Carolina to somehow make the college football playoff? We'll dive into it next. Gamecock fans, Diesel and I, are counting on you in this very segment. We want to hear from you. We want you to tell us how wrong we are, how right we are. We know that you, as fans in college football, don't mind giving an opinion when someone is wrong. We might be wrong. We might be right. What am I talking about? An hour ago, Diesel and I made our predictions for South Carolina football in 2025. If you want to go back and listen, you can on the free Odyssey app. There's a chapters feature, or at thefanupstate.com. We are going to bring that back to this very segment, but also, Diesel, go at it from another angle. For those that just tuned into the show, those Gamecock fans in Spartanburg, in Greenville, and Anderson, wherever you may be listening today or watching, as 64 Tolos are doing on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, we had our predictions. They're on one boat. But, Diesel, the other boat is South Carolina football making the college football playoff. How does that happen? What would that look like? We want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. Number one, what your prediction is for the Gamecocks in 2025. If you're a Carolina fan, call in. We'll do the win-loss game with you. 844-FANFONE. The phone lines are open. Want to do the win-loss game with Gamecock fans out there in the upstate today. But also, Diesel, playoffs. In your mind, is that a realistic path? Can you use playoffs and Gamecocks in the same sentence, or is it more of a pipe dream?
I mean, I think it's doable. It's a long shot, but it's doable. This is a very, very, very tough schedule. And you know as well as I do, South Carolina doesn't have the horses to stick with the absolute tippy-top best of the best in the SEC on paper, right? Anything could happen on the field, but on paper. So you and I both have South Carolina going 8-4 this year. I have them losing to Missouri, LSU, Alabama, and Texas A&M. So what's the path to getting to the playoff? It's going 10-2.
Is that what you would say, 10-2?
I think 10 wins. Yeah, 10 wins in the SEC against that schedule. That's a playoff caliber team.
Got Tennessee in last year, by the way.
Yeah, unless something crazy happens and there's just a lot of really good teams that have 11 wins or undefeated, which probably not going to happen this year. But 10 wins is the benchmark to get in. You and I, Diesel, would agree that if the Gamecocks are going to somehow, some way make the CFP, they've got to go 10-2. Our predictions were 8-4. Mm-hmm. You had a few different losses than I did. But if they go from 8-4 to 10-2, that's a 2-game improvement. Okay.
I want to be clear. Do I think South Carolina could make the playoffs? I think they could. But I will also be clear in the same breath, Diesel, and say I don't think they can with this schedule. I just think at the end of the day, the schedule's too tough. So my 4 losses at 4 o'clock were LSU, Alabama, A&M, and Clemson. And again, yours were
Missouri, LSU, Alabama, A&M.
Okay. So you go first. Let's look at your 8-4 prediction, then I'll give you mine. To take that 8-4 that you predicted, Diesel, and turn it into a 10-2 team that's making the college football playoff, what 2 games that you originally had losses are you going to take and turn into wins?
Missouri.
Okay, I like that.
On the road.
Yeah.
So you beat Missouri. And again, I think this is going to be a close football game.
I do too, by the way.
But Missouri just has their number. Won 5 in a row going into last year. South Carolina won the game with 15 seconds to go. Scored a touchdown with 15 seconds left.
They kind of almost blew a lead.
It's a trap. It's a trap game for South Carolina every year. Can't figure out why it is, because again, on paper, you should be better than Missouri. Missouri doesn't have their returning quarterback this year. South Carolina does. But maybe this Missouri quarterback is better than we thought, and he makes it close. But you got to win that game, right? You got to play mistake-free football.
Can we pause on Missouri before you move on to your next one? You mentioned quarterback. Bo Prabula Jr. is the expected starter in Columbia, Missouri.
He is a junior.
He is a junior.
Right.
The junior is not his last. It's
Right.
not.
I've made that mistake too.
He's not. So you're saying he doesn't have a dad named Bo Prabula?
Senior. No.
He is a junior in college.
Right.
Okay. So when I got down here and said Ahmad Hardy, okay, gotcha. Sophomore.
Yeah.
He is a junior. That's tricky right there. I don't know why.
It's because Phil makes it all bold in the same font, so it makes it seem like
He needs to put those in
what
parentheses.
if there was a real junior? What if it was like Nick Harbor Jr. and he was a junior? Would it say Nick Harbor Jr.?
That's a great question. So Bo, by the way, it's Beau, and we all know that Cook last year at Missouri was good. Bo Prabula, Diesel. Let's see here. He's at Missouri now, 6'2", 212 pounds. A season ago, let's look at his stats. See what this guy. He was at Penn State.
Mhm.
So in Penn State, okay, you're talking about limited playing time the last 2 years. Last year he only had 35 attempts. Only 21 before that. So we really don't know who Bo Prabula is because he just hasn't seen the field. He transferred over to Missouri. ESPN has him as a senior. That's weird. So ESPN has him as a senior. Phil still has him as a junior.
Mhm.
He's from York, Pennsylvania. Here's why I think the Gamecocks in this Missouri game is important. You and I would both agree that Gamecocks have the advantage in the quarterback, right?
By far.
So
By
again,
far.
what stands out to me though is the 9 defensive returners on Missouri's football team.
Yeah, that's why I had this as a loss against Missouri. You're on the road. You're in their house. They've got such a cohesive unit on defense this year with 9 guys coming back. All it takes is a mistake or two,
Sure.
and you lose this ball game.
So-
and South Carolina is good for one of those every year.
Okay, so with Tolos, if you just tuned in, if you just got off work, we want to hear from you at 844-326-3663 especially if you're a Gamecock fan. Diesel and I, to set the scene for you, originally in the last hour had Carolina at 8-4. Both of us did. The conversation now is how do we get them to a playoff team? So you're flipping Missouri, you're flipping
Missouri,
who else?
and I'm going to flip the A&M game,
Oh, wow.
which is on the road,
Yeah.
coming off a bye for South Carolina. So they will have played this murderer's row stretch of at LSU, home for Oklahoma, home for Alabama, at Ole Miss, bye week, then on the road at Texas A&M. And you know as well as I do, Texas A&M teams tend to fade down the stretch, right? They start out, with all this pomp and circumstance and everybody's hyped for the team, and then they kind of fade down the stretch. So if this A&M team does that, I mean, they may still be a ranked team at that point. Preseason, I don't recall off the top of my head where Texas A&M is
They're
to
ranked.
start.
Yeah.
But there's still a chance that Texas A&M is a ranked team by the end of the season, maybe clinging to that 20 to 25 range. South Carolina gets them on the road, and then your only losses are at LSU and against Alabama.
And those are really good losses.
Those are good losses, and committee members are not going to hold those
No.
against you.
There's no look. If they're 10-2 and those are their only losses, they're in. They're in like Flynn. I mean that'd be incredible. Now I will say I like your two flips there with Mizzou and A&M, and I'll tell you why. I agree with you that they're both tough, but I also go back to what Jordan Kay told us yesterday at the state newspaper.
Mhm.
I asked him how he went through and did his predictions game by game. And he said, if you look at South Carolina last year, Diesel, in 2024, they lost to better quarterbacks. So we're going to flip the script, but keep the theory the same in 2025. What do I mean? South Carolina now has the better quarterback.
Mhm.
He's got Lenore Sellers. You're going against Marcel Reed and some guy that we've never heard of before that didn't get any playing time at Penn State. So, to your two flips there, flipping Mizzou and flipping A&M, I don't know if it'll happen. However, I know a lot of people out there, including Clemson fans, may look and say, you guys are idiots. South Carolina making the playoffs a pipe dream. Think about it. Diesel, if they could go and take care of business against the teams that they're better than at the quarterback position, when the quarterback position's the most important position on the field, this becomes more realistic than we may realize.
Marcel Reed's getting his shot, and we'll see what kind of quarterback he is. He only played in 3 games last year. 374 yards. Yeah,
I'll tell you this.
It was okay.
Diesel, don't you wish, if you're a Gamecock fan, don't you wish you played A&M in Missouri to start the season, first 2 games of the year? You know what I mean? You've got these 2 quarterbacks. Think about it. These 2 quarterbacks. By the end of the season, when you play them, they may be a good quarterback. If you're a Gamecock fan, you're probably thinking, man, I wish we could play these guys earlier, right? Play the young quarterbacks earlier in the season. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
sure.
You would want to be able to play them early while they're still learning. Now, we're going to find out all we need to know about Marcel Reed on the 13th of September when they go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame. So, I mean, that's going to be big. A&M, by the time they play Carolina, they'll have played, I'm not reading every team, Notre Dame, Auburn, Florida, LSU, Mizzou. So we'll see. I know a lot of people look at that and say A&M, that on the road, that's automatic loss. I'm just not so sure. So those are your 2 flips.
Those are my 2
flips. And
flips.
all of a sudden, they're 10-2, and they're in the college football playoff.
Losses, a road loss at LSU, home loss against Alabama. Who was this texter who got in and said, Alabama is a night game in Willie B versus a first-year quarterback, with South Carolina having a bad taste in their mouth for Bama. I think if I had to flip one, it would be that one. Texter says he's flipping the Alabama game in Columbia.
JT and Greer also gets in and ask what the numbers are for the Gamecocks returning. Do you have South Carolina's page handy?
I do. It's 7 on offense, 9 on defense.
That's right. 5 on defense.
Sorry, what did I say? I said 9.
9, yeah.
Yeah, it's 7 and 5. South Carolina returns 37. Letterman loses 39.
Yeah. And my concern is with those 2 flips that you just flip Mizzou and A&M. Mizzou's going to have one of the best defenses in the country. They're going to be really good defensively. I don't know how good they'll be offensively, but those are going to be tough games for Lenoris to go on. Now, think about this. Your 2 flips are on the road. That's what makes it even tougher.
Yeah.
Both of those games are on the road. And I think ultimately, if they win those games, they're obviously one of the best 10 teams in the country.
Yeah, my hope is by then, South Carolina's defense, they'll have 3 games under their belt by that point, one of them being an SEC game against Vanderbilt. I think this defense will gel a little bit by that point. The defense will have some time to catch up and get right. I think the offense is going to be fine this year.
Okay, so here I am. My original 4 losses were at LSU, home against Bama for South Carolina, at A&M, so I had one of yours, and then home against Clemson. So 2 of ours were the same, right? No, 3 of ours. We both had them losing to LSU, Alabama, and A&M, right?
Correct. Yep.
I have them losing to Clemson.
I had them losing Missouri.
That's right. So only one difference. So in order to get that 8-4 team that I predict to go 8-4 to 10-2, the 2 flips on my 2 flips would be, I'll tell you this, I cannot flip LSU. I just can't. Like going into Baton Rouge early in the season, especially if Clemson beats LSU. Think about that. You think that if Clemson beats LSU, you think LSU is going to drop 2 games in 3 weeks to 2 teams from the state of South Carolina? It ain't happening. You'd be hard pressed to convince me that Carolina goes and beats LSU at their home field. So I can't flip that one. I can't flip Bama. Can I flip Bama? I'm trying to talk myself into flipping Bama into a win at Carolina, at Williams-Brice. Diesel, ultimately, though, my 2 flips will be A&M and Clemson. I'm with you on the A&M flip. They have the better quarterback. And then I'm going to flip Clemson just for the purpose of, think about this. If I flip A&M and they're a win, Carolina's now a 2-loss team hosting Clemson.
Yeah.
Fighting for their life. Think about that. If that were to happen, can you imagine if South Carolina was a 2-loss team hosting Clemson? That place at William
and Clemson fans would argue we took it easy because we were resting up for the ACC championship game.
And what if Diesel, what if the winner of that game was in the playoff? Could happen. What if Clemson was a 1-loss team?
Well, here's the difference. Clemson by that point can still be playing for the ACC championship game. And if they win the ACC championship game, they're in.
They're in.
But if South Carolina wins that game, they may not even go to the SEC championship game. Because they could be facing, 3 or 4 conference losses.
So my 2 flips would be, I think originally 8-4, my 2 flips would be Clemson and A&M. Texter says Clemson's defense was better last year than Mizzou is going to be, and Lenore's ran all over them. I think we blow Mizzou and Alabama out. Ooh. That comes from Keith in Travelers Rest. How about that?
That's a 7 out of 10 on the bold level.
Let's go to the phone lines, 844-326-3663. Phone lines are open. We go to Summerville, South Carolina, where Tom in Summerville, who is a Gamecock fan, wants to comment on our original 8-4 prediction. Now the conversation of how do we get from 8-4 to a college football playoff team. What's up, Tom?
Hey, guys, here's the deal, okay? 8-4 is fair. I don't think anybody can realistically sit there and argue 8-4. Now, the 2 games that you could see a potential flip, and you just mentioned it, Alabama, I'm sick and tired of talking about Alabama, okay? They came into Columbia in 2010, and we beat the brakes off of them, and this will happen again this year. We're going to beat the brakes off of Alabama. South Simpson ain't nothing, okay? We beat them in 2010. We're going to beat the crap out of them again in 2025. Now, you mentioned LSU. I do not think we're going to go to Baton Rouge and win at LSU. If you say you think we are, you're a homer. But I will say this: if LSU loses to Clemson, okay, if they lose to Clemson, they've got to go on the road to Ole Miss the week before Lenore's and the Gamecocks come to town.
God, that's a tough stretch.
If they drop a game to Ole Miss, the only way we're going to go to LSU and win is if they're mentally checked out. And that is possible. We don't know what Florida's going to do.
They're not starting 0-3, Tom.
Well, just let me say this. If we don't know what Florida's going to be, LSU's a better team than Florida. But Florida's capable of beating LSU. If things just start off bad for LSU, if this stuff with Nussmeier is true and he's not healthy and they just do not look good, maybe we can go down there and win. I don't think we will, but I'm trying to be optimistic. We've never won there. I don't think we will ever win there, especially if it's at night. But if the Gamecocks were to steal one and go 9-3, it's the Alabama game. We are going to beat them like it's 2010, and we're going to party, and we're going to party all night long. The Gamecocks will once again go 9-3, and we will be in the college football playoff. You can mark it down because we are not losing to Clemson at home this year. We are not losing to Clemson. Cade Klubnik will choke like he always does. Go Gamecocks!
Hey, Tom, we had a texter, Joey, texted in and said, I'll be in Summerville on September 13th. I should find Tom and scream in his ear for 3 minutes straight to see how he likes it. Thank God for volume controls. Your response?
Hey, tell him that on September 13th, he will find me watching football at the Ice House, and I will talk to him about whatever he wants to talk about.
Hey, Tom, before we let you go real quick, I do want to give you props. You're a good follow on Twitter, a funny follow. You and I mean, do you just constantly find Clemson fans to pick at? I've seen you and other Clemson fans talking trash. It's a good follow.
Hey, as Steve Spurrier once said, it's talking season, and talking season is almost over. So as long as we're in talking season, I'm going to run my mouth on Twitter as much as I want to.
Hey, don't forget, Tom, you said if Cade Klubnik wins the Heisman, you'll buy me a steak of my choice anywhere I want to go.
I 100% said that. I will honor that statement, but he is not winning the Heisman Trophy.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, man, that was – don't you feel like after Tom calls, we just need like a moment of silence?
If that happens and I go to dinner with Tom, we're going to sit on opposite sides of the restaurant.
That's right.
He'll just be able to talk to me without even using a walkie-talkie or anything.
You can probably do that here.
Who's louder, Tom or Rob?
It'd be a good, it'd be a close competition. Joey on the text line says, "Oh, that's awesome! I'll absolutely go have a beer with Tom, even as a Clemson fan." That's good stuff. Go back to the phone lines. Tolo Yardbird, tough shoes to follow up. Tolo Yardbird, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Cole Diesel?
How are you?
I hadn't called in before, but glad to.
Appreciate that,
right.
man. Welcome in.
I know Tolo Yardbird. You're a regular in the Upset Picks Challenge. I know your name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I rated up pretty high in the bracket challenge, knocking down Rob Brown and all his flunkies.
Tolo Yardbird, do you remember where you finished last year? I'm trying to find you.
I was around 20 or so.
Oh, that's good.
You know, I was tied with about 10 people. So
That's good. 20 is good, right?
Yeah.
Would you have
pretty good in the bracket challenge?
you would have sent everything in as Tolo Yardbird, right?
Yeah, I do.
You finished in the Upset Picks Challenge last year. I hate to burst your bubble here, but you finished 55th last year.
Yeah, but there were like 30 people tied for like 25 to 55 roughly.
Yeah. That's true. It was a log jam right there. What's on your mind, Tolo Yardbird?
There was a log jam in there. But I did have Clemson going out first round, which helped me a lot.
All right. What's on your mind?
We're
today?
talking about two different sports. You're talking basketball. We're talking football.
I don't know. I was calling to talk football.
Okay,
go ahead.
Two things I wanted to say. One is when Norris Sellers is going to do that in Alabama like Stephen Garcia did, come in and punch him in the mouth good 3-4 times in the first half, and they're never going to catch back up. And number two, everybody's talking about how much we lost on defense, but everybody forgets, even when we're young, our defense is always strong. But historically, our offense has been garbage, and they just run out of gas in the third quarter. And now we have an offense to balance them out.
It's a good point.
Don't sleep on them.
It's a good point. Tolo Yardbird, what is your season as a Gamecock fan? What's your season prediction, by the way?
I'm a realist as a Gamecock fan. I'm hoping 10 wins, but I see 9 realistically.
Okay.
And, if we can somehow pull off a win against LSU, I don't see it, but I can. It would put us over the top.
Thanks, Tolo Yardbird.
Thanks,
Appreciate
pal.
you, man. That'd be big.
Yeah, looking to hear his name, hear his phone calls, hear his text messages as we get towards the Upset Picks Challenge that, remember, Tolo's starts 1 week from today. That's right. Starting at 4 o'clock next Wednesday. You'll be able to get in your quote-unquote Week 0 picks for the Upset Picks Challenge powered by Ingles. When we come back, Cole, we've been talking Clemson. We've been talking South Carolina, LSU. Here's a problem, though. There is a very good chance that a massive, and I mean massive, thing interrupts college football season right when it's about to get good, and we may, as a society, be facing massive changes. What am I talking about? We'll get to it next. So I know a lot of people are probably not up to date with what's going on, Cole, with something referred to as Atlas. It's called the Atlas 3I/Atlas. It's a giant unknown flying object hurtling towards the Earth at a record speed, the fastest object ever detected, traveling at over 130,000 miles per hour, as observed by the Hubble Space Telescope. And I know a lot of people haven't heard of this thing because we had people say that they had no idea there was a hurricane coming last year.
This is the first I've heard of this.
Yeah.
Atlas one.
It's called, I had it and I lost it. It's called 3I, or it's 31/Atlas.
Okay.
It's an interstellar comet, they think, that's headed right for our solar system.
Oh, wow.
That is expected to be here right in the friggin' middle of football season. I'm going to quote Tom in Somerville. He called in one segment too early. But here's the thing, Cole. They are not entirely sure what it is. So there's a chance that this thing is, and these are scientists who are saying this, could be an interstellar probe from aliens.
Oh,
on the other side of the galaxy. They could be probing us. Get ready, Tolos, to get probed in late November, early December.
What do you think an alien thinks when they spy on Earth and there's 85,000 people smack dab gathered, packed into a college football stadium?
Like, those ants are
yelling.
idiots.
What are those people doing down there? I don't know.
So this thing was first discovered by the Atlas Survey System in Chile in July. It's confirmed as an interstellar object by NASA.
Okay.
And it's only the third such visitor, meaning an interstellar object, confirmed in our solar system. One happened in 2017. One happened in 2019. This thing is traveling really, really fast. It's on a straight, flat trajectory that's unlike any other object that's typically bound to our solar system.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I watched the news a good bit, and I can't believe
talk about it.
I hadn't heard about it. Maybe
you
I'm
don't
just
spend
not
enough
watching
time on the internet.
Maybe I don't. I should be more concerned about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really concerned about it interrupting football and football and deer season. Like, come in the springtime or something, right?
NASA classifies it as an interstellar comet. So that should make you feel better. It's not aliens. NASA says it's not aliens, except for Harvard astrophysicists Avi Loeb and his collaborators think, wait, this thing doesn't look like a comet to us.
Oh, wow.
They say this thing doesn't have the tail coming off the back end of it like a normal comet does. This thing has a glow coming off the front end. And that's what makes this thing
like
so
an airplane.
Weird. Like an airplane with headlights on, I guess. So there are some scientists who, again, think this could be an alien probe headed our way.
You know, I should be concerned. I'm more concerned about it messing up football or season.
And here's the problem: if it gets here in the window that scientists think it will, it's smack dab right before rivalry weekend. And that's a problem. Okay. So they say it could be here in 116 days between November 21st and December 5th. November 21st would put it right there at week 13 of the college football season. A lot of fans are not going to be super heartbroken if something interrupts this, but that's the weekend we get Nebraska, Penn State, Tennessee, Florida, Furman, Clemson will play on that weekend. But if it comes the latter half of when this thing is expected to be here, that's when all hell's going to break loose. And Tom will be like, look, there can be a spaceship and a man with green skin flying over my house. I'm not leaving, because that's the weekend we get Alabama, Auburn, A&M, Texas, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Florida State, Florida, Clemson, South Carolina, Oregon, Washington, Ohio State, Michigan.
You know, I generally, and whether it's aliens or a comet, hurricanes, I generally am on the side of like, maybe people will fuss and say you should be more concerned. I'm like always on the side of, okay, like there's nothing I can do to prepare for it. So, it is what it is. I don't know though, Diesel, if it's true. How do you prepare? How do you prepare for aliens? Do you buy generators or do you stock up on, I don't know. I truly don't know.
Get
It's
some
like
salt.
It's like the hurricane thing.
Yeah.
Going back, to our conversation earlier about Hurricane Erin, ERIN, out in the wherever it is now, to the east.
Yeah.
I know, like, you're supposed to prepare, and we saw last year that there were a lot of people unprepared, but here's how stubborn I am. Even if there's another hurricane coming this year, I'm not going to do anything different. I just, like, that's an idiotic of me, but I'm not, I guess I just have, like, this, like, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying aliens can't happen or something hits the earth or another terrible hurricane, God forbid, but I'm always going to be the guy that's just sitting back there in the backyard in the chair, just watching it and videoing it. And maybe there will be the panicked crowd that's a little bit concerned. But when should you, Diesel, and other Tolos be concerned about this? Whatever it is.
Yeah,
aliens?
well, we'll know it's a problem if it starts to slow down before it gets to us, and
gotcha.
that's how we know. You should go back and watch the movie Don't Look Up. It's
Never heard of
it's a movie. Big cast, came out like 4 years ago or so, and it's about a group of scientists who figure out that there is a planet-killing comet headed right for us.
Oh, wow.
And it's gonna hit us.
Yeah.
And they slowly start leaking the information out. People panic, and then people say, well, I don't believe that it's real. It becomes politicized, and we don't do anything at all to prepare ourselves for it or try to prevent it from happening, like the movie Armageddon.
Sure.
Remember, they sent Bruce Willis up there with some nukes to blow it out of the sky.
Yeah.
We don't do any of that stuff, and it hits us and kills everybody.
I guess that's a red flag of mine. My friends tell me that I need to care. Like, I'm just very laid back. I mean, like, I don't get upset. I just don't get, like, whether it's a hurricane, like, it doesn't change my mood. My car could get stolen, and it, like, if somebody stole my car out of the parking lot right now, like, yeah, it'd suck. But I
call insurance.
What do you
fine.
I've always been kind of on the laid back side. So maybe I should be a little bit more proactive when it comes to aliens, killing us all. But I don't know. So you're saying if it slows down, then we
means,
know that they're aiming at us, and
yeah, it means they're aiming at
their
us.
scope.
They're like, whoa. Okay, something's going on this planet.
They're
over there. We
dialing
need to
the
slow down
scope
and
and trying to figure out, there's Cole and Diesel down there in Greenville. Let's take them out, right?
stop.
Take them out.
And they don't want to pull us up and study us, especially
I
not
think
Dewey.
we could take
They're not going to learn anything.
I'll tell you this. Bring them on. I'm not scared of aliens. I think we could take some aliens.
You think so?
Aliens have never met rednecks from
Earth
the
go
South.
hard.
Yeah, I'm not scared of an alien.
Texter says Diesel just stand outside with a shotgun and shoot it down. Save us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do
People
that.
did that with the drones. You could do that with the aliens.
Exactly. Let's see here. Texter says, last time I heard of something massive doing damage was the first time my wife saw it.
Texter, you're funny.
It's funny.
Keith and TR says if this thing interrupts South Carolina's undefeated season, I'm going to be pissed. I think you're going to be okay on that one.
Dewey says, I'm prepared. Wait, what? Aliens are coming? They can study me. Again, I don't think they're going to learn much.
Yeah, that's what we should do. Just show them Dewey and they'll turn around. It's like, mission abort.
Tom says if the comet hits and Cade doesn't win the Heisman, I still win the bet.
Oh, yeah. Tom's going to have to pay up on the steak dinner, right? Or
Yep.
you'll have to. Tolos, it's time where we let you choose what you hear. And the next segment will play a piece of audio. It'll either be Dana White on the UFC fight at the White House, or it'll be Denzel Washington and Spike Lee talking about the Cowboys. Which one? At 844-326-3663. That's 844-FANFONE. Do you want to hear Dana White, or do you want to hear Denzel Washington and Spike Lee? Whoever has the most votes, that's what piece of audio you'll hear next. This must have been in the Daily Wires yesterday or something, Diesel. We did mention it, but next summer, when we celebrate our, next summer, is that right?
Yeah,
Next summer,
250.
okay, 2026. I was thinking 2 years, but no, next summer, when we celebrate the 4th of July in, you said 250?
The 250th year.
That's what I thought. 250th year of America, Diesel. My brain was going to another clip of audio, but Dana White is the clip of audio that won on the text line. So Dana White is what we're going to play here. But next year, when we're celebrating America's birthday, Diesel, we might be able to turn on the television and watch for the first time a UFC fight on the lawn of the White House. I don't remember what was it? The Daily Wires. We brought this up yesterday.
Yeah.
It was. And we did not have this audio. So here is Dana White on CBS yesterday talking about the possibility of this and what this could actually entail next July. Here's the audio from Dana.
There is talk of a July 4th
Go ahead.
fight. America's 250th birthday next summer.
Where at? Where at?
At the White House.
Okay.
A pretty big venue. Is that going to happen, Dana? What can you tell us?
It is definitely going to happen.
Oh.
I talked to him last night, him being the president, and I'm flying out there at the end of this month, and I'm going to sit down and walk him through, all the plans and the renderings, and we're going to start deciding what he wants and doesn't want. But yeah, it's definitely going to happen. Well, think about this. When you were just asking me, at the beginning, how I felt about, where we are today, July 4th, 250th birthday of the United States of America, live on CBS from the White House.
Well,
So,
listen,
yeah.
I like the
pretty
live on
excited.
CBS. Anytime
doubt
you
it.
can say that. But word on the street was that Ivanka Trump was involved in this. Is that true?
Yeah, when he called me and asked me to do it, he said, I want Ivanka in the middle of this. So Ivanka reached out to me, and her and I started talking about the possibilities, where it would be. And, I put together all the renderings. I'm flying out there at the end of the month and going to sit down with those two and start figuring it out.
So Diesel, next summer, next July, when we're all eating hot dogs with Joey Chestnut or shooting fireworks or whatever it may be, celebrating the 250th birthday of America, we're going to see a UFC fight. I have the question, though, for you and the Tolos out there at 844-326-3663. We all love celebrating America, right? It's 4th of July is a great time of year. It's a great holiday. But if you could pick the sport that was held on the White House lawn that you think would make a bigger spectacle than UFC, what would that sport be? Or do you think UFC is realistically the only thing that you can do on the White House lawn? Because it's a tight space, right? You can't go out there and Bryson DeChambeau it all the way across. I mean, maybe you could from the. I don't know how big the lawn is, and put a bunch of.
Could you fit I don't know if you could fit a football field out there.
I
Could
don't
you fit
know.
a football field.
That's what we need to know.
Could you have a rematch of the national championship game on the White House lawn? How cool would that be? Look, UFC is a niche sport, right?
Yeah, it is.
I'm thinking back to remember Rocky 2, or maybe it was Rocky 1, where Rocky and Apollo Creed fought in Philadelphia, which was the birthplace of America.
Mm-hmm.
And Apollo wore the Stars and Stripes trunks.
Yeah.
And he came out to the James Brown song and all that stuff. It was great. Boxing, if boxing was still the big sport today, you'd have a boxing match there. And boxing, was it a brutal sport? Yeah. Is it still a brutal sport? Yeah. Is there still a good chance of injury? Yeah. But for some reason, people didn't look at boxing like it was sort of low class.
No, I'm with you.
Some people look at UFC like it's a low class sport.
So I'm not into either. However, if both sports were at the same level of, popularity, I'd rather see boxing.
Like a world heavyweight fight?
Yeah.
The top two American contenders?
Think about Rocky. Like you talk about the movie. There's nothing more patriotic than Rocky. Those movies were incredible, right? And so, I don't have a sway toward boxing or UFC or MMA. And no, I don't have a preference, but I'm just thinking if both sports were equal in popularity, I think I'd rather see would you go boxing?
Yeah, I'd go boxing. I've tried with UFC, and to me, it's more about star power.
It is.
When Ronda Rousey was tapping everybody out in like 8 seconds.
Yeah,
that was phenomenal. It was there were bad fights, but it was a great story.
So my concern is, my question with this event at the White House is for people like me and you who really don't get into the sport. Is it a Super Bowl type environment where it's more of a spectacle, or do you and I sit down on the 4th of July next year, 2026, and think, oh man, that was some really good fighting? Like now we're walking away from the event interested in the event. Does that happen? Or is it more of like Super Bowl, look at all the stars, look who's down there on the front row, and we're all watching because it's a spectacle first? That's my concern, Diesel, that we're going to walk away from it and have the same feelings about UFC that we do right now. Maybe I'm wrong, though.
Maybe it's more of a celebrity event and there just so happen to be fights going on rather than the best fighting in the world.
They better be the best fighting in the world, though. Think about that. Like, I know Dana White's already said everybody's reached out to him to want to participate, but if you're going to do an event like this at the White House, it can't be like two guys that Cole's never heard of. You've got to have the best out
Here's
there.
my fear, though. Sometimes the best fighters in the world knock each other out in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
If they want to make sure that doesn't happen, they're going to script this thing. And it's going to be like watching Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. This made for TV scripted event. It's meant to last for hours and hours so they can get all their sponsorships in. And then ultimately it's going to be mediocre fighting.
I think there needs to be something planned, non-boxing related, that does like pop. Like, you know how everybody thinks Donald Trump and Barack Obama hate each other? Like, I think there needs to be some WWE element of it where those two get in the ring and they're like best friends, or just something that really just catches everybody off guard.
If they found a way to reach across the aisle and have every living president there active doing something,
oh my God,
that'd be great.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be great.
That'd be crazy.
When we come back, Cole, let's jump back into our conversation from earlier in the show. We make our official predictions for the South Carolina 2025 season. Is it possible that they could be a playoff team? We'll give our record predictions next.